We are going to have some goals today. We're going to explore, create, and share. They're going to be purposes of visualization for laboratory work and also experimental design. We're going to take a tour of an app called Chemix, and we'll commit to trying it out during this session. You're going to create, so you're going to actually draft an illustration. Some people are just going to want to play around, but I think people might have brought some labs with them. And NGS1 teachers, I'm going to show you where to go. If you have the Unit 3 folder in your NGS1 archive open in a separate tab, that will be helpful later. And we're going to share, not everyone, but if you want, share with the group, and we'll go through a little protocol we have the students go through together as they're learning how to use Chemix and how to draft laboratory diagrams. We're also going to be sharing about the next generation science standards, science and engineering practices. Okay, so we have actually been asking students to draw materials diagrams for a very long time. Why? Well, number one, it is an authentic STEM communication practice. So visuals of experiments, visuals of materials, visuals of prototypes, if you're an engineer, all of these things are super useful for communicating in STEM. I'm sure you're here because you know that. I want to just throw something out here, and I have an article for you in a folder of stuff for everyone later, but experiments and prototypes are models. Sometimes we don't think of experiments as models, but they really are. They're modeling something, a phenomenon usually, or we're trying to figure out how something works in nature. And STEM learners have to think about experimental design and engineering when they render their own diagram. The other byproduct that we've learned from all of this is that safety in the laboratory is enhanced. It gets better because they sort of are more thoughtful about what they're using and when they're using it and why they're using it. Disciplinary literacy is a big thing for us at EduChange. And, it's a whole body of work. But basically, in order to be literate in a discipline like science or engineering or technology, you need to produce knowledge. So when learners produce, the power of the discipline shifts from the teacher to the learner, and they actually become part of science and part of engineering, which is something that we love, and I'm sure you guys like that too. I'm going to throw up one more quote here while we're thinking. Equity is very much linked to disciplinary literacy, and some of the NGS1 people have seen this quote before from us. It comes from Elizabeth Mosier, and she has studied socially just subject matter instruction and equity. Knowing how to produce knowledge and thereby how to critique its production is where power in the discipline lies. Some of the power of knowledge comes from being an active part of its production rather than from merely possessing it. So one thing that happens with NGSS, right, is we're shifting from the teacher doing everything and explaining everything to the students exploring more and sort of figuring out, even if they're not doing the entire experimental design, just by diagramming the setup or diagramming the process, the algorithm, stepwise sequence, you do shift from a learner to a teacher. Thank you, Tony. Yeah. And yes, John has chimed in. It really helps with experimental design, which is a challenging science and engineering practice. I think something to remember about the science engineering practices is that we build them, right, over time. So students might not be ready to design an entire complex experiment themselves, but we can take steps with them. And Rebecca chimes in, my Mesa Club students use diagrams as evidence of their learning attempts with the projects. Yes, diagrams are evidence. Fantastic. And Mark talks about modeling as a practice. Yeah, we use a lot, but it's challenging to teach it explicitly. Great, this is all great stuff. You're really hooked in. So let's see some examples of the little program we're going to use today. This is sort of fun. And, there are going to be a lot of examples, but these are things that you can actually make with Chemix. These are from teachers around the internet and shared with me, and we're part of the community on Twitter, and you can be too. This is actually one of our little diagrams in the teacher prep guides. We're going to talk the walk and walk the talk and walk together all at once. So we're actually using Chemix to support our program as well. We use Chemix to teach measurement. So that might be something to think about as well. When you're teaching how to actually use different instruments and how to measure with them, you can also use Chemix. So that is a good way to introduce measurement, accuracy, precision, materials, things like that. The Twitter account, if you are on Twitter, definitely join the community and follow at Chemix Lab. And it's CHEMIX Lab. And you will find lots of people sharing their diagrams. So if you want inspiration and just to see what people are doing, definitely talk about it. And I like this one because Dr. Benjamin Scott, who tweeted this, says, I put this together in about 10 minutes. And that is something that once you get the hang of it, not right away, but once you get the hang of it, it's really true. You can see that this teacher is, definitely brainstorming, asking for community feedback right on Twitter. So people don't necessarily put polished diagrams up to share. So don't feel shy about sharing. This is from Unit 5, and from the lesson study folks, you might have remembered this. There's ability to use text, use labels. Inside the Unit number 3 folder, there are 2 docs in the Unit 3 folder. The Unit 3 Part 2, the student doc, and the teacher prep. You're going to pre-lab activity 39. That's the first place that you guys are going to see and use Chemix. I'm going to give you the link and stuff in a sec, but I just want to show you when you first land on the screen, this is what it's going to look like. And yes, please do take the quick tour yourself. So you definitely want to click the green button for the quick tour. It is self-paced, so just slow down and make sure you're seeing where it's taking you. It's short, so do it slowly so you can see some things. And then let's see if you can sign in with Google. This has worked in Salinas, so I'm guessing it's going to work today. You can also click the Stay Logged In. This is a personal device, little square, when you get to that as well. Okay, you do have to sign in if you want to store some diagrams in the cloud. And the free account does allow you to save a few. I think 3 is the total. So let us go to Chemix. Okay, cool. So this is always what you're going to see when you sign in and get in here. So one thing I want to share with you is where the help is. That's always where I go first in a program. Help is up top. You might have seen it on your little tour. And it's the, I'm going to click it. It's the question mark icon, right? And you can see that there's keyboard shortcuts if you like that. You can go back to the quick tutorial if you want that. You can report issues and things, but the Help Center is actually pretty handy. So I'm going to click Open the Help Center. The Help Center will open for you in a different tab. So I'm not sharing that tab, but you should see the Help Center if you click Help Center. Okay, I'll leave everyone a minute and just leave the Help Center open. It does have a nice collection, sort of a normal collection of tutorials and other things like that. So just keep the Help Center open as you go. And I'm also, yeah, that's great. Okay. So I'm going to take you up to the top where you were when you did your quick tour. And I want to show you a few things here. So right now, the arrows highlighted, you can move things. So when the selector is highlighted, you can move them around on the screen. So you can try doing that. You also, can undo and redo and cut and paste and copy and all that stuff. You can also throw things away. I want to show you this one because it's the label. So if you click the A, this is one thing that can be a little tricky first time. So when you click the A, you see actually a T for text go into the middle of the screen. And when you click onto the screen, it should say label. Okay. Now, if you don't want a lot more labels, if you only want that label, come back up to the arrow, to the select, right? And click select again. Because if you leave it on A, if you leave the A highlighted, it'll keep making labels all over your screen. Okay, you can delete them, but it'll just keep making labels for you. So you don't want to do that. So I'm going to go into label and just show you. You see the black box over on the right-hand side of the screen. And the label text you can change right here. So I'm just going to call it my label. And you can change the text right there in that black box. There's also a style guide, if you will, for different text colors and sizes and fonts. There's not too many fonts. And then you see some of these little lightning bolts. The lightning bolts are things that do not come with the free version. So you're just going to have to understand that when students are using the free version. We find that the free stuff is plenty. A lot of the more sophisticated equipment and things, and just sort of extra style guide and things like that are things you have to pay for. But the other ones that you can use are fine and are really pretty handy. You and your students can also save to the cloud, which is the next thing I want to show you. So you have to sign in to save your diagram. All right, so this is the key feature for signing in. Now's a good time to try to sign in. So if you come over to the sign in, up will pop that little sign in with Google thing that we talked about earlier. I am signed in, and so I am going to sign in here in a minute. Along the left nav bar, you probably saw the menus. Chemistry, has test tube in it, so we all know that, that's not just for chemistry, right? But if you click on the left nav pane, if you click a material, it will pop up on the screen. So all you do is click and it'll be there. So if you want a lot of test tubes like that image we saw, then you click the test tube a lot of times, and all of a sudden you will have test tubes. Maybe you don't want this label anymore. I'm going to delete it. You can just select something and press delete, and it'll delete it. But don't worry, because if you want it again, you just come over to the left-hand side, or you can, of course, undo what you just did. So very, very easy. One of the easiest draw programs that we have found, and certainly the only one that's this robust in terms of laboratory equipment. So beakers, all the stuff, you want to just sort of take a browse, right? You can browse along the side. There's tons and tons and tons of equipment. You can go to the measurement, which is the little ruler one. You see probes, you see pipettes and dropper pipettes. You can go to heating, and that's where you'll find your burners, different stirring rods. So it takes a minute for you to understand sort of where things are in the world of Chemix. But the biology one will have a microscope. Maybe we'll put a microscope on and you can resize. Anytime you're selecting a material, you'll see this black box open in the right side. And that's what gives you the guidance for how to make it smaller, right? I'm scaling it down. My microscope isn't that big. And I can flip it horizontally, flip it vertically. Whoops. So keep taking a look. There's a whole physics thing. There's a bunch of optics pieces as well. Where are they in? Yeah, mirror and prisms and all kinds of fun stuff. There's your dynamics carts and ramps. And then distillation apparatus, there's a whole menu just for distillation. Real scientists use this, by the way. So they're making diagrams for their own conference presentations and things like that. Accessories will have things like crystals, beads, drops, bubbles, if you want to put bubbles and things. Okay, one thing I want to bring your attention to is, I'll share this with you as well. But in NGS1, there are times when we do some sharing. Students share their diagrams with each other. This peer review is a praise, question, and suggest. So there's a protocol that we actually give to students, and I'll put it in the resources folder. For NGS1 teachers, this would happen the second time you do a materials diagram, which is in Unit 5. So the first time you do it is in Unit 3, and you're just getting used to Chemix and all that good stuff. And then in Unit 5, you would actually do a peer review. So the idea is that you look at the diagram. So we would look at like Jose's diagram. And then if I was sitting with Jose, I would offer one bit of praise. I would ask one question of Jose, the designer, and I would offer one suggestion to the designer. So this is just something, again, you'll all get this set of protocols and sort of how we go through the second time. But I want to share it with you because peer review, of course, is an authentic science practice. So the folder of stuff, and I will put this recording in streamlined version of this into the folder as well. But if you go to tinyurl.com/AT for assistive tech, STEM tech, AT STEM tech, a lot of T's, that will get you to the shared folder. And a lot of the stuff NGS1 teachers you already have in your folder, but you're welcome to go into. There's some little tidbits and articles and experimental design goodies in that folder as well. I want to take a moment and just let you know that while you were busily working, the founder and creator of Chemix joined our session and is here. And so I would like to invite him to turn on your video, and I am going to stop presenting and we're going to say hello. Let's see. Hi, come on in and say hello.
Hello,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Good. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're just introducing a bunch of teachers to your great program here. And so, welcome, welcome. We have been communicating with and working with Hi for a couple years, and we just love Chemix, as you know. So can you just introduce yourself and tell us where you're from, where you're calling in from, and just what you do for your day job?
Yeah, so my name's Hai. I apologize for the mess. I haven't had time to clean up yet.
That's okay.
And yeah, I created Chemix a while ago. I'm not a teacher. I did study chemistry. I really enjoyed it. I did not carry on with chemistry at university. Instead of went for programming. And so I had the idea of creating a website for drawing chemistry diagrams for, I guess, for no real reason. I think I needed to draw some diagrams, and I thought, oh, I could either take 10 minutes to draw the diagram or spend a week building an app that could draw it for me. So clearly that was the more optimal choice of what to do. But yeah, I carried on working on it. As I mentioned, I am not a chemistry teacher. I don't have a whole lot of chemistry knowledge, but by now. But I think it's great that people like the app and they've given me feedback and they've helped me build it. So when I was watching watching you all creating diagrams, I was very nervous and hoping that it's it's the right tool for you, and it's helpful rather than adding more work to. So yeah. So thank you.
Great. And so where are you calling in from?
Oh yes, I'm calling in from London. It's 8 o'clock here.
It's
8 p.m.
8 o'clock. How was the day? Did we have a good day?
Yeah, it was pretty good. We had a heat wave the past 2 days, so it was horrendous. Yeah, it was. I think
Yeah, take
everyone
care.
was looking for AC. That was the objective of the day. But today it's rainy, and I think that's a good thing.
Good, good. So tell us a little bit about the types of people who use Chemix today and what are they using it for?
Uh, yeah, so I think the primary users would be teachers and students who are looking to create diagrams for various reasons. Maybe they're doing a lab report as a student, or maybe they're trying to create instructions for their students as a teacher. We've had a user who likes to animate things, so has created animations using Chemix. It's not a supported feature, but what they do is do frame by frame pictures and then string them together into an animated GIF. So that requires a bit of patience and definitely some perseverance. But yeah, that's I think that's the kind of stuff that you can do.
Yeah, and Efren's treasure chest of gifts it's linked in the folder, guys. So I will show it to you on the screen in a minute. And it's like a huge Google folder of science laboratory gifts made with Chemix. So you'll have access to all of those. He makes them publicly available, which is cool. Is there a tip or a feature in Chemix that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, if I can present for a second.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let us see what you like, what you do, what you're all jazzed about right now with Chemix.
So one feature that I really like, but hopefully, it shouldn't be me who is excited about the features. It should be you. So, if there's anything that you'd like to see or it could be improved, please do let us know, and we will try to prioritize it and work on it. So I think the feature I like most is kind of foreshadowed in the app when you first open it, is this typing of the formulas. What we wanted to do is make it easy to write formula. So you can install various tools that you can like click on things to make things subscript or superscript or insert special symbols. We wanted to make it even easier than that. So you just type and then it works. Sorry, I need to log in.
Yeah. And if you could make your screen a little bit larger, the box a little bit larger.
Yes.
So we can see, yeah, what you're doing in the text box. Yeah.
I prepared some, as I mentioned, my chemistry is super rusty, so I wrote down some examples ahead of time. But I'll start with a simple one. If you want to type in a formula for water, you can just type H2O. If you toggle this on, then it formats it for you, and there's no special clicking around or anything like that. It does other formulas as well. You can do equations. So if you type in a dash and an arrow, oh, why is this happening? Ignore these signs for now. Then this is not going to be a valid equation formula, but I hope you. I think you're probably screaming at me from your screens.
No.
You can do equilibrium signs. You can do ions, so a simple one like that, or something more complex like that.
Mm-hmm.
You can type in, I think these are called electronic configurations. Oops, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
That
Okay.
format as well. Other time-saving features, for example, volume. So if you type in something like this, it will auto-format it. It will also detect that if it's not something like valid, then it's like kilometers, then it will not. It will do something different. For temperatures, you can just type in O, the letter O, followed by C or F. I guess you're probably more used to this one. And yeah, the list of examples, because sometimes it might be difficult to remember all these, then we do have a handy cheat sheet that is available here that explains how to write all of these different combinations of things. So,
and where, just before you leave that, so can you tell us the difference between the boost version, which the teachers on this call will all have, the boost version, and the free version is what their students are going to have. So how is ChemText different in the free version and the boost version?
yes, if you do not have boost, you'll have these bold signs that indicate that. You can still use this feature. It'll just have these warning signs around it. So this is to give the option of trying it out without us blocking it, as it were. But it'll have these signs around it. So that's the difference.
Okay.
Excuse me.
And yeah, go ahead.
I'm typing what he's typing on the screen, and I'm not getting the subscripts.
I see. So you need if you're using the label, there'll be a section called ChemText, and if you toggle that on, then the feature will start working.
I was wondering if this is only for diagrams. Is that designed to do graphs or anything like that? Just for diagrams of an experimental setup? Is that what this is all for?
Yeah, the primary goal is experimental setups. You can draw graphs. It's not intended for drawing graphs, but
okay.
What I've seen is people use basic shapes. Actually, I can present for a sec again.
Yeah. And the main use that we have for it is for experimental diagramming and setups and laboratory instructions and teaching measurement in the lab. So all those kinds of things.
So yes, in this shape section, I've seen people draw graphs by just adding some lines, and there is this curve option which you can do, which allows you to have quite a bit of control over the shape of the curve as well. So you can use that to illustrate various processes in a graph. There isn't a feature, as it were, to draw a proper graph from data. There's no way to input data, have that be rendered into a graph, but I believe there are much better tools that can do that out there. So we focus on what we're good at.
Well, you got some in the chat. You can see some thanks and praise. What's your next project? What are you going to do for teachers next? I love it.
Well, I think we're not quite done with Chemix. I think there's still a lot more we can do. There's still many more features and items we can add. So I think we'll continue working on them.
Absolutely. It's great. And we've seen it evolve over, I would say 4 years, and it's really been tremendous and so helpful and fun. And the students really take to this pretty quickly. And you guys, I think you'll find a lot of engagement with this and with getting ready for a laboratory, which sometimes, they just want to get right into the materials, but if you have the materials out and you're helping them diagram and helping them understand your protocols and procedures, or if they're doing design, it really can help them understand what the heck they're doing, which in turn makes them more safe, which is all good things as far as science teachers are concerned, right? Anyone else, you can feel free to unmute.
I just wanted to mention the good news is that if you do save your diagrams to the cloud, and then once you do have Boost and you come back, then all the features will be there, including the formula. So
Yeah.
You don't have to. Well, you still have to wait, but I guess you don't have to lose your work and then have to rebuild it again, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So it's great. I want to close out today with this Padlet. And so if we can think for a minute together about the processes within Chemix that relate to NGSS. I'm also going to put this link in the chat real quick, but you can just, it's a Padlet, and there are different science and engineering practices right in there. So as soon as you arrive, see if you can make connections to your standards and your practices. I am going to put the link in the chat. I have to go different places. It's in the chat now, folks, if you just want to click the link, but it's padlet.com/educhange team/July Chemix, or you can click the link. By letting you know that I will be sharing more of these examples and resources in the AT STEM tech folder that I prepared for everyone.